Hello everyone. On a crisp autumn day, a group of hedgehogs huddles together, seeking warmth as the cold bites deeper. But their sharp quills, meant for protection, turn closeness into pain. They pull away to escape the sting, but are drawn back by the chill of solitude. Doesn't that sound familiar? In many ways, aren't we all like those hedgehogs, searching for connection while guarding ourselves against hurt? This poignant dance, the need for connection tempered by the risk of harm, is what Arthur Schopenhauer called the hedgehog's dilemma. How often does our desire for intimacy clash with our instinct for self-preservation, leaving us stranded in the delicate tension between connection and independence? Born in 1788, the German philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer, often called the father of pessimism, confronted the harsh realities of human existence. He rejected the Enlightenment's optimistic faith in reason and progress, arguing instead that life is driven by the will, a blind, insatiable force. And as we will see, Schopenhauer's philosophy challenges us to confront the uncomfortable truth that happiness is not a lasting state, but a transient and elusive experience. Arthur Schopenhauer's keen observations of human behavior reveal the contradictions at the heart of our condition. The hedgehogs are not just a metaphor for relationships, but a reflection of our struggle to balance closeness with self-preservation. The quills symbolize how our attempts at connection often lead to pain, while their isolation mirrors the loneliness that follows. This paradox lies at the heart of human relationships and extends to the broader existential struggles that define our lives. In today's world, the hedgehog's dilemma is more relevant than ever. Digital connectivity offers endless opportunities for interaction, but it often amplifies our fear of vulnerability. Social media encourages curated personas, where authenticity is sacrificed for likes and validation. Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis and one of the most influential thinkers of the 20th century, also referenced Schopenhauer's hedgehogs in his essay New Problems and Directions in Research. Freud noted how the dilemma symbolizes emotional dynamics in human interactions, where intimacy is tempered by the fear of emotional pain. Meanwhile, the paradox of being perpetually connected yet profoundly lonely mirrors the hedgehog's dilemma. We crave connection, but fear the sting of rejection or judgment. Arthur Schopenhauer begins his philosophical exploration with a radical claim. The world we perceive is not the true reality, but merely a representation shaped by the limitations of our own minds. It's like watching a film. What you see on the screen is merely a projection, not the actual events themselves. Similarly, our senses and intellect act as filters, processing the raw data of the world and constructing a subjective experience. Each person's perception of reality is colored by their individual experiences, biases, and cognitive limits. This means that no two people experience the world in precisely the same way, as each reality is uniquely constructed by the observer. Schopenhauer challenges the Enlightenment belief in universal objective truth by emphasizing the inherently subjective nature of existence. While thinkers like Descartes sought to uncover rational foundations for knowledge, Schopenhauer instead turns our attention to the veil of perception that separates us from the thing in itself, borrowing from Immanuel Kant's philosophy. To Schopenhauer, what lies beyond our representation is the realm of the will, a raw, undifferentiated reality that operates beyond reason and perception, driving the essence of existence itself. By highlighting this distinction, Schopenhauer reframes the world as a deeply personal and subjective experience, profoundly shaped by individual cognition and the mysterious forces that underlie it. So, hear the question. If the world is a representation, what lies beyond this veil? And here, Schopenhauer introduces the concept of the will. For him, the will is a blind and irrational force that powers all of existence. It's not a simple desire, like the wish for a new car or a vacation. Instead, it is a metaphysical energy, an insatiable urge that drives everything in the universe. Think of it like a river flowing endlessly, without purpose other than to flow. The will, like that river, is an unstoppable force that propels all life forward, relentlessly striving for existence. This force underlies every plant stretching toward the sun, every animal searching for food, and every human striving for love, success, or recognition. We are all, in a sense, puppets of this unseen force, our actions dictated by a deep, unconscious need to exist and to fulfill desires, even if those desires are ultimately futile or destructive. The will drives us in a relentless pursuit of satisfaction, but fulfillment remains out of reach. We chase after desires, work tirelessly to attain them, and when we succeed, the happiness is fleeting, only to be replaced by new cravings. Schopenhauer encapsulates this with the pendulum of human life, swinging between pain and boredom. When desires are unfulfilled, we suffer. When they are satisfied, we experience only temporary relief, followed by emptiness and ennui. Take consumer culture, or what called consumerism, for example. Imagine someone buying the latest smartphone. At first, there's excitement and pride in owning this shiny new object. But within months, sometimes weeks, a newer, flashier model is released, and the initial joy turns into longing once again. The will thrives on this pattern, keeping us in a state of perpetual dissatisfaction. This cycle extends beyond material possessions to all aspects of human desire, from career ambitions to romantic relationships. For instance, the romantic relationships often follow a similar trajectory. The early stages of love are exhilarating, filled with passion and hope, but, as time passes, the stark reality of daily life dulls the initial glow. For Schopenhauer, this isn't a failure of the individuals involved, but a manifestation of the will's relentless cycle of desire and disillusionment. To him, love is nature's ploy to perpetuate life, a biological strategy masked as personal affection. The exhilaration of romantic connection is not about two souls uniting, but rather the will ensuring survival through reproduction and sex. Even the most profound human connections cannot escape the will's inexorable demands, reducing love to a mechanism of continuity and exposing the pervasive grip it has over human existence. And Schopenhauer's own life echoed this perspective. The philosopher never married or started a family, a choice that reflects his belief in the futility of human desires. His only significant romantic connection was with the opera singer Caroline Richter, a relationship that lasted nearly a decade without engagement or marriage. This unconventional bond ended when Schopenhauer fled Berlin for Frankfurt during a cholera outbreak, where he would live in isolation until his death. Such solitude underscores his detachment from the very mechanisms of the will he so deeply analyzed. Also, Schopenhauer rejected the Enlightenment's ideal of human beings as guided by reason. He directly challenged thinkers like Immanuel Kant, who saw reason as a transcendental guide shaping experience through categories like space, time, and causality. Schopenhauer countered this by claiming that reason, far from being the architect of life, is merely a servant to the will. By subordinating reason to the will, Schopenhauer not only critiqued the Enlightenment's faith in rationality, but also offered a profound reimagining of human nature and its motivations. For example, if we reconsider the experience of falling in love again, you might feel an overwhelming attraction to another person, seemingly inexplicable and beyond logic. Afterward, you may justify these feelings by pointing to their qualities, their intelligence, kindness, or shared interests. But Schopenhauer would argue these rationalizations are secondary. The real driving force is the will, which operates on a primal level, propelling us toward procreation and the continuation of life. What feels like a deeply personal reasoned choice is, in Schopenhauer's view, the will asserting its blind and insatiable drive. This insight radically shifts our understanding of human agency, and Schopenhauer suggests that our intellect is not an objective tool for understanding the world. Rather, it is a tool for justifying the actions prompted by our desires. Reason, in this view, is a servant to the will, not its master. This makes us question how free we truly are in our decisions. How much control do we really have over our choices if they are primarily driven by unconscious desires? The belief that we make logical, conscious decisions is an illusion. Instead, we are often pulled by a force far deeper than our rational minds can comprehend. In my very personal understanding, rooted in my lived experience rather than academic philosophy, Schopenhauer's concept of the will shares striking similarities with the traits of a psychopath or a covert narcissist. Both the will and these psychological profiles exhibit an insatiable, self-serving drive. The will, like a covert narcissist, operates behind the scenes, manipulative yet relentless in its quest for satisfaction. Similarly, a psychopath's actions, devoid of empathy and focused solely on their own desires, echo the blind and irrational force of the will. This was just a personal comparison and sheds a different light on Schopenhauer's philosophy. while also connecting his metaphysical insights to modern psychological paradigms. Now, if our lives are driven by desires, what does that say about our nature? And Schopenhauer's answer is both uncomfortable and deeply disturbing. Egoism. For him, egoism lies at the core of human behavior. The will, being focused on its own existence and gratification, fosters a profound self-centeredness in all of us. At our most fundamental level, we are driven by the need to fulfill our desires, to ensure our own survival and well-being, often at the expense of others. This egoism is not exclusive to humans. In the animal kingdom, we see acts of survival-based egoism, territorial behavior, competition for mates, and food hoarding, all driven by the will to live and propagate. These natural instincts highlight how egoism is embedded in life itself. But in humans, this primal drive evolves into more complex forms. The rise of personal branding, the pursuit of individual success at any cost, and the glorification of self-actualization reflect a sophisticated yet equally egoistic endeavor for gratification and self-preservation. However, this comes at a significant cost. As we become increasingly absorbed in fulfilling our own needs, we risk alienating others. The drive for personal success and recognition often diminishes the space for genuine connections and empathy. Schopenhauer's insight into this dynamic challenges us to reflect on the pervasive influence of egoism across all facets of existence, from the instincts of animals to the intricate social behaviors of humans. So, if life is shaped by the restless will, how do we reconcile with a world where suffering seems both unavoidable and inescapable? For Schopenhauer, the answer is unflinching. Suffering is not an accident of life or a mere imperfection. It lies at its very core, at its essence. Like a hamster running endlessly on a wheel, striving for something it can never attain, the human condition is marked by unfulfilled desires and fleeting satisfaction. This endless recurrence underscores the futility at the heart of human existence. And by recognizing the inevitability of suffering, Schopenhauer invites us to shift our perspective. Instead of viewing life as a quest for lasting pleasure, we must confront the continuous struggle shaped by forces beyond our control. This confrontation offers a deeper understanding of existence, not as a source of despair but as an opportunity for introspection and resilience. And one might ask, what are we to do with these truths? Schopenhauer suggests that the path forward lies not in denial, but in acceptance. By understanding the nature of the will and the cycle of suffering it perpetuates, we can begin to transcend its grip. We can start to loosen its hold on us. This is not an easy task, but it is one that opens the door to a more profound engagement with the human condition. Now, amid this ceaseless striving, is there no respite? Is there a way to momentarily break free from the relentless pull of the will? For Schopenhauer, the answer is yes. Art. This is because art offers a rare and precious escape. Unlike ordinary activities, which keep us entangled in the will's demands, art allows us to step outside ourselves. When we engage with a beautiful painting, a moving piece of music, or a gripping story, we shortly transcend our desires. We stop being puppets of the will and become detached observers, contemplating life without being consumed by its struggles. And among all art forms, Schopenhauer held music in the highest regard. Why? Because while other forms of art represent aspects of the world, like a painting of a sunset or a sculpture of a hero, music goes deeper. It doesn't represent something external. It expresses the very essence of the will itself. Listening to music, according to Schopenhauer, is like hearing the rhythm of life, the heartbeat of the universe. It connects us to something profound while offering a temporary release from our individual suffering. Schopenhauer himself admired the works of Ludwig van Beethoven and Gioacchino Rossini, finding in their compositions a striking embodiment of music's unique power. Beethoven's symphonies, with their emotional depth and dynamic intensity, seemed to Schopenhauer like a direct confrontation with the will, a musical expression of life's inner turmoil and striving. On the other hand, Rossini's operas, filled with melodic beauty and spirited energy, offered Schopenhauer a lighter, yet no less profound encounter with the essence of existence. Picture yourself listening to a powerful symphony. For those moments, you're no longer preoccupied with your to-do list, your worries, or your unfulfilled desires. You're transported, experiencing something larger than yourself. This, for Schopenhauer, is the magic of music. It lets us glimpse the underlying forces of existence without being entangled in their grip. It provides a fleeting sense of peace and understanding, allowing us to confront the chaos of life with renewed perspective. But is there another way to confront, or perhaps even escape the grip of the will? Another way to weaken the will's hold, Schopenhauer believed, is through compassion. Unlike art, which offers a temporary reprieve by transforming suffering into beauty, compassion reaches directly into the shared experience of existence. Just like Gaza war compassion, when we recognize that others are suffering just as we are, it shifts our perspective. We begin to see and recognize the interconnectedness of all life, realizing that our individual struggles are part of a greater whole. This understanding can break down the walls of ego. Remember, egoism is one of the pillars of the will, reducing the power of our personal desires and fostering a sense of shared humanity. In other words, when we feel compassion, we dissolve the boundaries of the self. In doing so, we transcend the blind striving of the will and embrace a deeper, more empathetic understanding of life. Consider the example of a wealthy man. I won't mention any names here. Don't want anyone thinking I'm secretly endorsing a new self-help brand. After years of chasing money and status, he suddenly has an epiphany and decides to dedicate his life to helping others. Classic move, right? By stepping away from his own endless striving and focusing on alleviating the pain of others, he finds a sense of purpose and peace. This, for Schopenhauer, is the transformative power of compassion. It allows us to transcend the will by focusing on something beyond ourselves. Compassion, in this sense, is not just an ethical virtue but a profound act of liberation from the cycles of desire and suffering. But now, what if compassion, as transformative as it is, only softens the grip of the will without fully breaking free? Could there be a more radical way to confront its demands? For those seeking a more radical path, Schopenhauer proposed asceticism. Asceticism is the practice of self-discipline and renouncing desires to transcend worldly attachments. It is the complete renunciation of desires. This approach calls for detaching from pleasures, wealth, fame, and even sexual desire. It's a deliberate, profound effort to deny the will and liberate oneself from its relentless hold. While asceticism may sound extreme, Schopenhauer saw it as the highest form of liberation. By giving up the pursuit of fleeting pleasures, an individual can achieve a state of inner peace. Imagine a monk living a simple, meditative life, unburdened by material possessions or personal ambitions. This life of self-denial, while difficult, represents a profound rejection of the will's tyranny. Through asceticism, Schopenhauer believed it was possible to transcend the ceaseless cycle of striving and find a lasting sense of freedom and equanimity. Now, in the spirit of Schopenhauer's asceticism, I'll detach from any grand expectations and embrace gratitude for my incredible YouTube members. Even though there are fewer than 4 of you, you are among the most valuable treasures of this channel, and a special thanks to Brian Burke for hitting the YouTube Super Thanks button, proving that even in a world driven by the will, generosity and connection can still shine through. At the end of this podcast, we've uncovered so far that the will drives us endlessly, trapping us in cycles of desire and fleeting satisfaction. Schopenhauer believed that true liberation comes not from fulfilling these cravings, but from renouncing them through art, compassion, or even asceticism. But what does this mean for us? If the pursuit of desires leads only to frustration, how should we respond? For Schopenhauer, life is a cycle of suffering, a Sisyphean endeavor where we endlessly seek fulfillment but never find lasting peace. Yet, acknowledging this absurdity is, he argued, the first step toward liberation. Life, he suggested, is not a problem to solve but a reality to face with unflinching honesty. And while this honesty strips away illusions of ultimate meaning, it also frees us from the need to seek it. In this freedom lies the chance to redefine our relationship with existence itself. For some, this might mean rejecting the will entirely, but such a path is not for everyone. Instead, Schopenhauer invites us to ask, if we cannot escape the absurd, can we embrace it? Imagine standing at the edge of the ocean. The waves crash ceaselessly against the shore, indifferent to our presence, a rhythm without purpose, a motion without end. Yet, in their relentless energy, we find awe. The ocean offers no answers, no meaning, yet it invites us to witness its beauty. This, Schopenhauer might say, is the paradox of life. In accepting its absurdity, we uncover moments of profound grace. True happiness, then, may not lie in conquering the absurd but in learning to live alongside it. It is not found in grand achievements or perfect resolutions, but in fleeting moments of presence, the warmth of laughter, the quiet wonder of a star-filled sky, the serenity of simply being. These moments do not erase life's struggles but illuminate them, offering glimpses of joy amidst the chaos. Happiness, perhaps, is not the conquest of life's struggles but the quiet resilience to find joy within them. The absurd is not our enemy, it is our companion. In its chaos we find beauty, in its unpredictability we find hope. Thank you.